Hello, welcome to Clockwise, produced by Netizens ICT. Clockwise is a podcast where we unravel the trends of innovation. We dive into the heart of the world's evolution. Now, today's journey in exploring the software economy will be spectacular because our conversation will provide answers to those questions you've always wanted to have answers to. Today, we are discussing cybersecurity versus data analysis. I know the word versus means it's going to be a war, but it's not. My name is Providence Essien, and I'm your host. Welcome to the sanctuary of greatness. Today's conversation will be epic because I have two top-notch gurus who will be here to discuss the high-in-demand skills of the tech world. But as usual, you'll meet my guests after this break. Welcome back. Like I said earlier, today we are discussing cybersecurity versus data analysis. And I have two professionals, a cybersecurity professional and a career data analyst. Let us move to the introduction proper. On my left is a data analyst, a professional data analyst with years of experience and with evidence. He is the program lead of Zoomit Africa Academy. Welcome, Mr. Val.
Yeah, hi. So excited to be here today. Yeah.
And also on my right is a cybersecurity professional, also one with evidence and with the one that ends in dollar and also spends in naira. Please, he is a cybersecurity consultant to so many organizations and also a tutor at Netizens ICT. Please welcome Mr. Kandem.
Thank you very much for having me.
Welcome. Cybersecurity versus data analysis. I'm the versus here.
Yeah, you're the referee.
Okay, now let's we have a normal culture in our podcast. We allow our guests to actually tell us a little more about themselves, even if we said something about them. So I'll start with you, Mr. Kandem.
Okay, so my name is Nyenopone Kanem. I am a security professional, a cybersecurity professional. I am a tutor, like has been said, I'm a tutor, a cybersecurity tutor with Netizens ICT. I'm a cybersecurity tutor for the federal government's 3MTT program. I'm also the technical lead, Nigerian Bar Association's Women Forum. I'm also the head of cybersecurity at Archangel Stores. I'm also the head of the cybersecurity unit at Virgin PR, which is a PR company based in Akwa Ibom State.
That's wonderful. Like your cybersecurity expert everywhere. Let's go to you, Mr. Val.
Yeah, hi. My name is Valentine, and
a Man U fan.
yeah, Red Devils for life, always. But I'm so excited to be here. I basically classify myself as a journalist, right? Because I cut across different roles in operations, but ideally, right?
Is a journalist?
Generalist.
Journalist. Okay. I thought you said journalist.
Yeah. And I basically love data because data is a new oil, to be honest. So, I mean, people that know how to use data, of course, would make a lot of money and, of course, win this round.
Win this round. All right. Now, you see, let's go straight to the point. You see, in the tech world, these are the two most in-demand skills. Cybersecurity and data analysis. Everybody wants to know, what will I do? Like, should I do data analysis? And that's why this podcast is here. So we're going to start from the cybersecurity expert. Do you understand?
Okay.
Why? Okay, first of all, let's start from a definition. What is cybersecurity?
Cybersecurity is a practice of using frameworks, controls, policies, and tools to protect the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information assets, networks, people, devices.
Okay.
To ensure that people are safe from online threat actors.
Okay, that's a very sharp definition. What is data analysis?
Yeah, so in simple terms, data analysis just involves analyzing data to make data-driven decisions because that's the main cause of why you should analyze data. So yeah.
Those are two beautiful professions. Like one protects, the other one analyze. Oh, that's good.
To make decisions.
Very
important.
To make decisions.
Yes.
What it means is that the decision-making process of the company depends largely on data.
Data, exactly. So
Is that so? A cybersecurity expert?
Yeah, data
Does
is
that make a data analyst in the company more important than a cybersecurity expert?
okay. So here is the deal. So the data analyst
Mm.
uses data to analyzes data for data-driven decisions.
Mhm.
But a security professional ensures that that data is secure. So the component of availability, when you have the CIA triad, so you have the confidentiality, you have the integrity and the availability. If the data is not, the integrity of the data, it cannot be guaranteed, then the data analyst can't have anything genuine to work with. If the confidentiality of that data is not guaranteed, that means the data analyst that is working on that data would that data could actually get into the wrong hands, and all the work done by the data analyst to give his company a competitive advantage via data-driven decision making would be available to everybody.
So that what you're trying to say is that there is no company without a data analyst. Because
you cannot work. It's not possible for you to work without in today's world without a data analyst.
Okay.
So the last point I was about to make is availability. So a cybersecurity professional ensures that data is available. And if data is not available, then the data analyst will not have anything to work with. Take, for example, if a company suffers a ransomware attack where the entire data of the organization is encrypted, the data analyst won't have any data to work with. So that's a security professional works to ensure that that data is protected from malicious actor and kept in a form that the data analyst will find it useful.
Now, from what he has said, do you understand? From what he has said, he said the essence of data analysis is for you to analyze data for the company to make decisions, and they may be profitable decisions. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And that decision will determine the productivity or profitability of the company. So the data analyst has to be there to be able to direct the company to make money to pay the cybersecurity expert.
Yeah. So I also want to say that
No, am I wrong?
No, you are not. You're not wrong, of course. But I also want to say that it also depends on like the environment and the company, right? It's of course now a lot of companies are now hiring cybersecurity professionals because now there's so much breach in data security and the rest. But from my own point of view, right, fundamentally, right, the data analyst would be needed more in terms of like I'm talking in terms of Africa, right, as a whole, right, because it's just now that a lot of companies are now hiring for cybersecurity professionals. So most of these companies will definitely want people or hire data professionals to help them maximize their data and use it to solve business problems and make that data-driven decisions. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's why
who gets a job faster? Is it data analyst or cybersecurity?
So in Africa, right, I'll say data analyst, right?
Why do you say so?
Because, like I said, it's more of availability and it's a skill that's very in demand now. Cybersecurity is a skill that's in demand, but it requires a lot of technical experience. It's not something that's I don't even classify as a role that should be entry level, because you can't bring someone entry level in as cybersecurity to come and protect your data, and the person does not even have like prior experience.
So you're trying to say that it's more easier to actually learn data analysis than cybersecurity?
Yes, for start. Yeah, it's more easier.
And I agree with him to the extent that most companies are beginning to realize the need for cybersecurity professionals. In a typical company, you might have maybe 5 people that are cybersecurity professionals, and then you have a ton of people like 10, 20 data analysts. Because
so there are more data analysis role in
definitely
the company than cybersecurity.
Yes, that's cybersecurity role. Cybersecurity is where it's relevant where companies prioritize the integrity of their data or recognize the risk of a security breach or a data breach. Yes, if you look at Nigeria, for example, you can mention a number of companies that have data analysts, a number of them. But if you go to the cybersecurity role, sometimes they have just 1 or 2, and sometimes some of these companies actually subsume data cybersecurity under IT.
Very correct.
Do you understand? They subsume under IT. So it's about it's like an appendage. They don't even look at cybersecurity professionals or cybersecurity as a unique field on its own. They believe it's an appendage. Okay, they call it IT security.
Okay.
So,
but it's still the same thing as cybersecurity.
IT, it's still the same thing as security, though. IT security, information security, all of them are actually the same thing as security. So they consider it as an appendage rather than as a standalone unit that should actually be given the attention it deserves. It's only that outside the country, and that another reason for that is because some of the security regulations that apply outside the country don't apply in Nigeria. For example, I don't know if you look at the if there's a data breach, an e-commerce store, there's a data breach. How many? We have a privacy law in Nigeria, though, but the implementation of that law is so weak that companies are not under. They don't feel the need to implement to comply with those regulations. Okay. Because when regulations have punishment that are not administered as at when due, people begin to take it with levity. Okay. So I think the reason why people are considering data analyst more than cybersecurity is that whereas playing down on data analysis and not being able to make data-driven decisions will immediately set your competition ahead of you. Security professional or cybersecurity is something that until an incident happens, a major incident happens, that's when people now say, wow.
So we should have invested in this. It requires a lot of technicality to work as a cybersecurity.
Definitely, it requires a lot of
there's something he said. He said he does not believe that the cybersecurity should be an entry role in any company. Are you of that opinion?
Okay, so it depends. Really, that thought is something that a lot of people share because data is very critical. Like I told you, if you suffer a ransomware attack, and then you will understand what could happen to you. Business stops immediately because if you don't have access, let's say even if you are an e-commerce business, for example, and then someone encrypts a ransomware attacker encrypts your organization's data with and demands for ransom. Until that ransom is paid, you can't even have access to customer information to fulfill orders that people have made. You can't even have access to your customer database to be able to send emails, campaigns, and all those things. So even for an e-commerce business, it is such a big deal once such an incident happens. So you realize that it's very critical for people to want to allow an entry-level person, candidate who apparently has no previous experience. But the fact is that I, being in the field of cybersecurity, can tell you that there are still entry-level roles, though with supervision. So we have what we call the SOC 1 analyst. Okay. SOC 1 analyst or security operations center analyst are people that just do the basic things like monitoring security logs using SIM tools and then escalating events of interest to the SOC 2 analyst. So you realize that these people are still there. They still have fine roles because a SOC 2 analyst will be better involved in investigating the incidents that have been escalated by the SOC 1 analyst and see whether number one, is it relevant to us? Is it above our risk threshold? And then is it worthy of us treating it? And if it is worthy of being treated, then he goes ahead to identify the controls that that's needed to be implemented to control that. So the point there is that there is still room for security analysts at an entry level.
Mr. Val, how long did it take you to actually learn that analysis?
To be honest, it depends on the person's willingness and readiness to get a role or go far in it, right? Because I mean, I've met people that have done it 6 months and got a job. I met people that did it only 3 months. Like they had a prior skill and they just integrated that into their prior skill and together go. For example, now someone that is an accountant, right? Can learn data analysis and learn how to analyze finance data and maybe get a role as a financial analyst, right? So, because the thing about data analysis is the fact that it's a domain. Data is a domain. They have different kinds of domain. They have financial data. They have sports data. They have different kinds of data. So basically, financial, you can't choose. You can choose actually, but it depends on you. Once
you've acquired a skill, You can now choose a field you want to use.
Yes, because it's very important
Finance.
for you to have domain knowledge. For example, I
Okay.
can be a data analyst, right? But you cannot hire me to work in a pharmaceutical company or a company that they do like lab testing, because I don't understand. Like, for example, they give me data of a blood sample. I don't understand the intricacies of like what's, if someone is sick, how should the blood look like? What are the metrics to measure if someone is sick, someone that is okay? I don't know that, right? So I cannot really function there. I might just be analyzing stuff and I'm not hitting the right point. So domain knowledge is also very, very important as well.
Analysis.
Yes. So as far as you learn the data analysis, you need to have domain knowledge of whatever field. For example, sport analysts, right? They know the rules in sport. They know what to do. They know how to analyze data. They know how to analyze scores of games, fixtures, things like that. So yeah, that's also very, very important. So I would say it could take 6 months. It could take 1 year. It could take 2 years. It depends on the person's readiness and willingness to learn. Because getting a job doesn't only require maybe taking a course to learn a skill. It requires you preparing for more interviews, networking with professionals already in the space. It also involves like putting yourself out there, like telling people, oh, this is what I do, like you get, because if they say closed mouths don't get fed, right?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Now, as a data analyst, for instance, now, what skill will you start from? And at what point will you say, okay, you're confident enough to actually call yourself a data analyst?
Okay, so fundamentally, right, I usually say you need to understand what data is, like how does it work? Like before you learn the tools, understand data, they understand the business problem, because most people have the skills, they know how to use the tools, but they don't know how to make business driven decisions.
Okay.
Because you can know all the tools. I knew someone that knew Excel, Tableau, Python, so many tools. But if you give him a project, he doesn't know what tool to use. But sometimes you can have a project, for example, let me give a simple example. A small business owner say, okay, I want to hire you to help me analyze data, right? To help me solve business problems. That person will not need, you don't need to go and carry Python or something like SQL. But someone that is a small business, little data, you can use something like Excel, spreadsheets, analyze, build a dashboard with Excel and help them solve the problem. So the most important thing, first of all, before you learn the tool, understand how data works, understand what businesses are looking for, and then you now start learning the fundamental tools, like first of all, spreadsheets, know how spreadsheet, Excel, Google Sheets. Then gradually you start learning how to visualize data, right? And you can use things like Power BI or Tableau. You can even use Excel to visualize your data, right? But it's usually advisable to use like visualization tools like that, Power BI, Tableau. There are so many other tools, and then you then move into databases, because as a matter of fact, data, like I said, we have millions, trillions of data stored in different places, right? So you need to know how to query this data on database, because they cannot be on an Excel sheet. You can't put 1 million chunks of data in an Excel sheet. You cannot. Excel has like maybe 5,000 rows. That's the limit, right? So you need to know how to navigate databases. So your spreadsheets, visualization tools, and then SQL. After you understand this fundamental, then of course you can then move into Python. Python is usually needed if you want to start moving into the science part, that's the machine learning and the AI part. But fundamentally, you don't need to
Python.
Yeah.
Okay, fundamentally, you don't need Python.
Yes, for a data analyst role.
Okay, what you need is Excel,
spreadsheet,
Power BI,
Tableau, in visualization tool, and
SQL.
Then SQL.
So why are people shouting Python everywhere? Data analysis.
Yeah. So the thing is that in this age and time, it's still important to learn a programming language, regardless of if you're going to use it or not.
Because I know most people have given up on this career because of Python.
Are you being more specific?
Because if they had this knowledge about that, you can actually become a data analyst without even knowing Python.
Yeah, you actually can, because different companies have different tools they use. There are some companies that
not all companies use Python.
Yeah, so there are different companies that have different tools. I've seen companies that, for example, I interviewed at a company, Bamboo Technology, Invest Bamboo. You buy stocks there. And basically on the interview, they were asking me, the tools that they use was SQL, just SQL. They only use that. And I realized that, wow, you can even use, there are some features on SQL that I can use it to even visualize data. So you can just write your query and then visualize that data. So different companies have different tools they use. So you need to understand, okay, what tools does this company use? How can I use the tool to help them solve that business problem? There are some companies that use Excel. There are some companies that might even use Python. So you just need to understand, okay, before you apply to a company, you need to find out like what tools do you use, and then see how you can, of course, learn those tools and of
What
course add value
tools
to
do
you.
most Nigerian companies use?
Okay, so most Nigerian companies basically use the normal spreadsheets and visualization tools, and then of course databases with SQL. Can use PostgreSQL or MySQL.
So we just what they call it, Excel spreadsheets. A good knowledge of it. You can be a data analyst in Nigeria.
Yes, of course. There are some companies that basically hire, but of course, it's not really popular, right? It's not really popular but Excel is a very, very
Is it a fundamental data analysis?
I would say fundamental because it's very broad. Because if you start moving into Excel, VBA, and all those stuff, macros, it's very it's very hard. But I would also say that fundamentally, everyone should know how to use like a spreadsheet, right? How to use spreadsheet, how to analyze them, because you can use a spreadsheet to even do some simple as using equals to in your bracket, put that, press enter, and then total. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Now tell us more. You were trying to talk about machine learning and Python.
Yeah.
And what's the difference between data analysis and data science?
Good.
Because most people have that big confusion.
Okay, I actually have a perspective that the data science is like the fatherhead, like the main figure. Then under that data science, we then have what we call the analysis part. We now have what we call the machine learning part. And then there's also another part most people don't talk about. That's the data engineering part. Okay. How data is stored and structured. Because the data engineer...
Is that what you call data entry?
Data engineering.
Okay.
Yeah, because...
Which part is data entry?
An analyst can still function as a data... Yeah. Okay. So analysts can still function as that. But for the engineering part, you understand that the world has gone into cloud computing, right? So you don't need to spend like millions and millions of dollars or naira, right, to buy infrastructure. So you can just host everything on the cloud. So you need someone that understands how that data is stored on the cloud. I need to also work with the cybersecurity expert to know how, if that data is stored well on the cloud. Because I mean, recently or last year, there was something that came up with InterSwitch that they lost over close to between $2 to $20 million. I'm not really specific. I can't remember the amount, but between $2 to $20 million because of a data breach. So you can imagine that. So I can know if you calculate that one in naira, you know what it is. So for ideally, right, you just need to understand like the fundamentals, right? And then we have data engineering. That's how data is, of course, stored in the cloud or whatever platform. The analysis, you analyze the data and visualize the data. And then we also have the machine learning. So now the machine learning is when you start looking at how you can make predictions without the need of a human person. Like you're building a model, right, that can help you predict future this thing. Like the very popular one is like a stock price prediction model, right? Something that you can help to predict stock prices of a stock for the future, like in 5 years, how would you perform, stuff like that. So yeah, so machine learning basically moves after you move from analysis, because traditionally most people that do analysis after a very long time tend to start transitioning into the ML part, because that's really where the fun part is, the AI, the ML.
Where is the money?
It's everywhere, to be honest. Yeah, but in Nigeria, right, we're still gradually moving to the ML part, right? But fundamentally, right, the analysis is the main part, right? How you can analyze data, of course, present to your stakeholders, because these people don't have time to imagine you're having a presentation and you just open a whole spreadsheet. Hey guys, this is my presentation, and you just show a spreadsheet of numbers. You don't have time for that. You're wasting your time. But if you come in with a visualization, maybe bar chart, this is how much you made this month, and they can see it from the chart, right? They don't even need to ask you. They can see from the chart. Yep, basically solves that problem. So
yeah, that's good. When we are back from this break, we'll continue with the cybersecurity expert. Take it away.
At Netizen, we have built our state-of-the-art, serene and conducive workspace. It is fully equipped with all the facilities to have a comfortable and an amazing work time at our hub. If you need a place to work, handle your business meetings, or take that exams, our workspace offers 24/7 power supply, unlimited access to internet, overnight hours, private space, and business services. Welcome to our versatile conference hall, a premier space that accommodates gatherings of 50 to 70 persons. Nestled within our facility, this conference hall is designed to cater to a diverse range of events, making it an ideal choice for both professional and social occasions. With its spacious layout and comfortable seating, our conference hall provides an optimal setting for seminars, workshops, trainings, and conferences.
Welcome back. We are still on Clockwise and we're still discussing cybersecurity versus data analysis. But before we proceed, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Put on the notification bell because every week we ensure we drop amazing content that you don't want to miss. Now back to the cybersecurity expert. How long does it take to actually learn cybersecurity? To be fair,
Typically, it could take about 6 months to get an entry level, to learn enough to get an entry level role. Sometimes it could take up to
learn
year.
enough. How? I don't know. To learn enough.
What I mean is to be able to get enough knowledge to be hired as an entry level security
6 months
specialist. You can actually do that in 6 months. It depends on the time. Some people do 1 year.
Okay.
So, but it depends on the time that you have to allocate. If you can spare 2 to 3 hours at least every day to learn, then you can complete it in 6 months.
Really?
Yes.
How is your day like? Your typical day as a cybersecurity expert?
A typical day as a cybersecurity expert. Okay, so let me talk about incidents as an incident response specialist because there are different roles.
Please tell us the
in
different roles
cybersecurity.
first.
Yes. Okay, so we have a security. Those that are there. We have 8 domains of the in cybersecurity.
Okay.
We call the CISSP domains in cybersecurity. So we have people that are security engineers.
Okay.
We have people that are security pen testers. People popularly call them hackers.
Okay.
Those are penetration testers. We have the security operations center specialists.
Okay.
These are people that are involved in incident response. We have the people that are involved in identity management, identity and access management. We have people that are involved in communication network security. They're like the network security engineers. We have the cloud security specialists. So different roles in cybersecurity. We even have people that are involved in audits.
Okay.
So, for example, the security auditors. We have people that are involved in training. For example, what we call security education training and awareness. That is also a specialty in security. We have people that develop policies, security policies, frameworks, and guidelines. That's also an area of cybersecurity. So that's called security and risk management.
Okay.
So there are a lot of people that work in cybersecurity. So I'm going to talk about as an incident response.
So before you go there, which one are you?
I'm involved in incident response.
So at what point of your career do you actually choose a path?
Okay, so I would say sometimes you might have to choose this path depending on where you are hired. You might be hired as an entry
So you have
level.
to learn everything.
Okay, so here is the deal. You can be hired as a company, even as an entry level security professional, but you get into a company that doesn't need a pen tester.
Okay.
Most companies that hire security professionals are most likely you're going to work on incident response. Most likely, because the typical security consideration is when there is the potential of a data breach.
Okay.
In the event that there's an incident, there's a malware attack, there's a DDoS attack, there's a password attack. That's incident response.
Okay.
So most entry-level security professionals will work in a security operations center as incident response people. Of course, you can from there you can decide to specialize in engineering. You can decide to specialize in security architecture, pen testing, and some other fields. But most likely you're going to get into work in the security operations center.
Okay.
As a security analyst. Yes. Because again, in security operations center, that's where it's like the command center. So we work as to monitor security logs. We use it as SIM tool to monitor security logs. We also and see when there is to monitor critical activities in the organization's network. If there is an attack, we notify if we are a SOC 1, you notify SOC 2 on the incident for further investigation and remediation.
Okay.
So that's exactly what you most likely are going to do as an entry-level security professional. Then, but a typical day for an incident responder is we have a SOAR tool, what we call security orchestration, automation and response. This is a tool. It almost combines and it's almost like an intrusion detection and prevention system. If let's say there is a brute force attempt, and someone there's 500 login attempts in 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that's obviously not a human. So it's most likely an attacker trying to brute force his way into the network. So what the SOAR would do is to stop that, completely stop traffic from that IP address. Stopping that traffic is just one thing, which the SOAR will help to do, just to kind of protect the organization from further incursion by the malicious actor. It is now the role of the security incident responder, because that's an incident.
Okay. So you have to have an incident responder.
So an incident responder will look into the situation and find out what happened. Is it that the person used, and if the person successfully gained access, did he use the login details of an employee? Could we link this to a successful phishing attack and all those things? So you have to do that investigation. Of course, first of all, according to what we call the NIST cybersecurity framework, the first thing for you to identify, and then you protect, and then you detect. So the first you have identified by knowing that there's a security incident.
Okay.
Then you protect by ensuring that you contain the spread of the attack, and then you detect. Detect them means that you find out what was the root cause, do a root cause analysis to find out where did the attack come from. Was it someone trying to brute force into the organization and all those things? So you follow that. We have what we call playbooks that are fashioned after the NIST cybersecurity framework, and then those playbooks actually identify the things that you have to do. Like I talked about, identify, you have to detect, you have to protect first, and then you detect, and then you when you detect, you have to respond, and all those things. In fact, up until the level where you have to communicate with management, like he mentioned, your learnings and all those things. So what has to be done? So you follow that playbook in addressing any security incident.
Okay.
Most times, as an incident responder, our typical day is spent on investigating previous incidences and stopping. If the attack is ongoing, you can stop it on its tracks. But if it is an attack that happened, that is a past attack, that it has stopped, it's not ongoing, then you want to find out what happened, when it happened, who was responsible for what happened. All those investigative activities that you're doing is to ensure that you not only protect your organization, but prevent a recurrence of that attack. And then, of course, you want to communicate to stakeholders. The stakeholders, for example, if it was a phishing attack, it's most likely a social engineering attack, which is a manipulation technique, really, to get people to release sensitive sensitive information. So you want to communicate through education to staff to train them on how to recognize phishing attacks and how to ensure that they don't fall prey to phishing attacks. That's how you are able to manage a security from all the way from when the incident happened until when you are providing remediation to that incident.
From what you're saying, it's as if it's not like data analysis where you learn tools to analyze data. You have to be up and doing, because there are no form to this attack. So you have to be able to study this attack on a continuous basis. Is that what the profession is all about? So
here is the deal. That's why I said cybersecurity is, when you talk about a boring profession, cybersecurity is not one of them. Because incidences, vulnerabilities.
Does that mean that data analysis is
no, it's not boring too. It's not boring too. And here is why I'm going to say it's not boring. Because you want to gain more and more insights into data every single time. You know, the thing is that whoever gains, two people can have access to the same data set.
Yeah.
But one person will use that data and make a ton of money. The other person won't do it because it's like the more you know what to do with your data, the more opportunities are available to you for you to succeed. So, but and now in cybersecurity, in the same way, it's very interesting because you have vulnerabilities show up every day. New attack types, new phishing, new forms of social engineering attacks show up every single day. So you as a security professional will have to learn all the time. Keep yourself updated. I personally, I read every single time because as vulnerabilities come emerge, you as a security professional have to keep yourself updated. Otherwise, you sit in there and something happens. And before you realize, and by the time you check the forums, you realize that this vulnerability had been discovered long ago. So you want to always be one step ahead of the security of the attacker, of the malicious actor. And the only way you can achieve that is to keep on educating yourself. So cybersecurity in itself is a very, very interesting and very, very engaging field. You learn every day. And by the way, you cannot even say that you know too much. Because there are what we call zero-day attacks. You can think you know a lot of vulnerabilities that can be established in your system, in the infrastructure you have. But every single day, people are finding new vulnerabilities to that system that you have. So and that's what we call zero-day attacks, meaning attacks that don't have fingerprints, that you can actually make reference to. You can the attacks that are novel. Let me call it that way, so people can understand. Novel attacks are actually attacks that are zero-day attacks. Zero-day attacks are very difficult to manage because you don't have you don't know how the extent of this attack, and you don't know you don't have a clear-cut rule for managing this attack. Do you understand? Unlike attacks that have been documented, there have been established guidelines on how to manage these incidences. But when you have a zero-day attack, you most likely don't have this kind of detailed guideline. So a lot of things you are going to do based on, you have to learn, network with people, communicate. And that's why in cybersecurity, if there's any, in tech, one of the areas that you have to communicate and build relationship is cybersecurity. Because if you don't build relationships, when an incident happens, you cannot say, oh, let me rely on my knowledge, because if it's a zero-day incident, you might not do it. Most likely you will realize that maybe someone else has suffered the same incident. You have to learn, you have to share knowledge on how they handled that incident and what you could do to ensure that it doesn't happen to you again. So cybersecurity is a very interesting profession. It's never boring at all. If anything, it keeps you on the toes all the time, because once an incident happens, you are on a treadmill.
At what point in the course of your profession, the course of you studying cybersecurity, at what point can you say you are confident enough to be a security expert for a company? At what point?
When you understand, that word security expert.
Security professional.
So the essential things you need to know. You have to understand the fundamentals of cybersecurity, which are to understand the attack types, the attack vectors, to understand the different forms of incidents, security incidents that can happen, and then also to understand how the history of cybersecurity has evolved. And of course, understand like we talk about the CIA triad, the security domains, all those things. Those are fundamentals. Then you have to understand too how to assess risk, vulnerabilities, and threats. It's very important. You have to understand network security, how to protect. And by the way, under risk, vulnerabilities, and threats, you have to understand how to use SIM tools, security incident information and event management tools. You have to understand how to use them because it helps you to monitor, to understand what is happening in real time in your organization. Then you have to understand network security, understand computer networking itself, because you are going to be protecting networks. Under this, you have to understand how to use packet sniffers. Packet sniffers capture network traffic and analyze it. Then you have to understand Linux at the basic level, at least Linux enough to be able to issue permission grant permissions and privileges. You have to understand SQL. You have to understand Python. at least to be able to the extent that you are able to automate cybersecurity tasks.
Okay.
You have to understand how to even having a security mindset is very important. You have to understand that. You also have to understand how to use things like apart from the packet sniffers, the SIM tools. You have to understand how to use like he talked about basic data analysis. You have to understand how to handle data.
As a cybersecurity
As a
expert?
security, yes, you have to understand how to handle data because, for example, you can have tens of thousands of security logs. How do you extract them? How do you query them? How do you visualize them on dashboards? Do you understand? Those are the things you have to understand so that you will be relevant to a security professional. Because for you to be able to find roles in security as an even entry-level roles, you are going to work with a team, and some assignments, some tasks will be delegated to you. So all the things I've mentioned here will allow you to at least understand how things happen as a security operations center analyst, and how you can support a higher professional like a SOC 2, a security engineer, and all those in their daily tasks. So it is when you have learned this and have a working knowledge of all the things I've mentioned, that's when you can literally call yourself a security professional, and not just that, land a lucrative role in security.
Talking about money, how much does the cybersecurity earn in Nigeria?
Okay, so again, it also varies. Because
the workload is so much.
So it varies because, and here is why it varies. No, it varies because someone that is working for a small business will not earn the same way as someone that is working for a bank. Will not earn the same way as even someone that is working for a company like Paystack. Because I use Paystack for example. Paystack is not a Nigerian company; it's a US company, even though it's in Nigeria. And then they are very careful about the PCI DSS. They are very compliant with PCI DSS, with Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. Do you understand? So if for a company that is very careful about complying with such regulations, such standards, they are going to go all out to ensure that they hire and compensate their security professionals. Okay. So that's why it can vary. I know some people that are working in security that are earning 350,000 naira per month. I know some people that are earning 5 million naira a month as security professionals. I know some people are earning higher. That is within Nigeria. Outside Nigeria, I mean, it's insane.
How important is cybersecurity professional in the company?
Security, as much as data is important. He mentioned that data is the lifeblood of any business today. Yes. As much as data, your information asset is important.
Can a company do without this?
Okay, let me say this. Okay. Think about a company that has intellectual property. That's the only thing they have to do what? To make money. Your intellectual property is what you have to make money. How you're able to do business to be able to make money is what gives you the competitive advantage. So if that data is compromised, number one, you would have lost money. You have lost money because what was supposed to be your winning factor, or yes, your winning factor has now been you have lost it because it's now been democratized. Everybody can have access to it. So you've lost money. Number two, you've lost money because in terms of fines. Look at what happened. If there's a data breach, you can, as a company, you're going to be fined. You can even be having serious lawsuits if you are an e-commerce business and then a data breach is associated with your company. The people that are victims of that data breach, the people whose data have been compromised, can sue you, and to the extent that you can literally liquidate the business and you will still be winding down in very serious debt. Good. Then that is another thing there. Then the other thing is reputational damage. If you hear that, okay, let's say you hear a popular e-commerce store in Nigeria, I'm not going to mention name. Let's say a popular e-commerce store in Nigeria suffers a data breach, where people's credit card information was stolen. Will you want to buy in that place again? No, you wouldn't. Now, again, if that company, that's even for data breach. What about DDoS attack? If a company suffers a DDoS attack, distributed denial of service attack, you know what happens? Even Google would re-rank that company they will rank way lower on Google search. That's lot money lost. Now that company, as long as the DDoS attack continues, meaning that the genuine traffic, genuine customers cannot visit that website to buy from them. As long as that continues, that company is not making money. So if you look at about the last thing I'm going to talk about is even ransomware attack. If you suffer a ransomware attack, even as an e-commerce business, you cannot make money because no data to fulfill customer orders, and customers can't even make more orders. They can't even make orders anymore. You cannot fulfill orders. You can't even reach out to customers because the customer database has been encrypted. Okay. So you realize that cybersecurity, as much as data is important, as much as information access is important, even communication itself, communication between management within the company, the internal network of the company has to be protected. Otherwise, people could eavesdrop on the conversations that are supposed to be confidential. If you are having management meeting and your competitor is hearing all the strategies you are having to be able to build your business, then they could actually go out to ensure that they work against using the information you have now they now have access to. They could literally work to ensure that they frustrate you to promote their business. So
how are the opportunities?
The opportunities are immense. Like I said, people are now realizing that the war,
especially in Nigeria.
In Nigeria, even people, like you mentioned, a lot of people come in here, ask, please, can I do cyber? A lot of people are coming, let's do cybersecurity, let's do cyber. Most tech hubs now are like cybersecurity is like the biggest thing that they're advertising now, because companies are beginning to have realized. Okay, let me give you very simple. I work for a company that it was actually like a bid. So the company A, I'm going to use company A and company B. I work for company B. Company A submitted a bid. Company B submitted a bid too. So company A believes that based on the antecedents, they are supposed to be the one to get the job or the contract. Company B believes that company B eventually got the job. Now company A told company B that okay, so you have gotten the contract. Okay, if you last for the next 1 year, then you know that I'm not who I say I am. Of course, company A is out to ensure that it demonstrates to the person who gave them company B the contract that the choice they made was wrong. So what are they doing now? As I speak with you, every single time they are launching persistent security attacks. Persistent security
attacks. That's chaotic.
Yes, so that is the point. So companies are now realizing, the companies are now realizing that
internet war.
It's not an internet war. That's
actually serious now.
Because if you think about the best way to take down a business is to actually attack its online presence and digital infrastructure. So as companies realize the crucial nature of security these days, that's why they are going out to hire security professionals.
Okay, Mr. Val.
Yeah.
As a data analyst, what are your challenges in Nigeria, especially like our country, especially Africa?
Yeah. To be honest, opportunities, and for the fact that
Africa has no keep data.
Yes, we do not really value data here. I mean, for as simple as
I want to hear that.
Yeah, as simple as for example, we're working on a project. Basically, we're building a product to.
Okay.
I spoke about it. The crop price prediction products that help you to predict crop pests, right? Okay. That exist in crops, and we couldn't find as much as data for what kind of crops are planted in the north, what kind of crops are planted in the south, what kind of crops are planted in the west. We couldn't find as little as that, and then we went to. Is it NIDA or something for agriculture, national, and we spoke to them about the project we're working on, and if they can give us data, and
they don't have it.
We could not get any valuable data from them.
Say that they don't have it.
I would know. We could not get. I won't say that, please. We couldn't get data from them, right? Okay. Maybe it was confidential, but that was the biggest problem we had. So we had to manually talk to farmers.
So access to data is one of your major issues.
Yes, and if you look at companies or countries that are advanced, they don't joke with data as much as your own personal data. I mean, you've had a situation whereby someone is driving a car and he beats the speed light. No, there's no security there. There's no one stopping him, and he beats the speed light. And as he gets home, he gets a debit or a charge on his account that he beats he broke the rules. But in Nigeria, it doesn't work that way. You can't do anything, and so we don't really value data here, and that's the biggest problem as a data professional. Because imagine being hired for a business and they don't have the hires is data analyst for their sales units, and they want you to analyze their sales, help them to know what product should they work on. Or for example, a cosmetic business that sells female products, right? Which of their products is their best selling product? Which of their products is the best least selling product? For example, their least selling products, they won't bother investing so much money getting those products. But their best selling product, they will spend more time buying the products, seeing how they can revamp it to get more sales. So that kind of company now, you go there and they don't have any data. They don't have where they store it. They just say, okay, we have random receipts that we keep in a book. We have it somewhere, and
unstructured data.
Yes, unstructured data. So you might not know what to do. You struggle to help them make that data-driven decision they are working with. So the main core is the fact that we need, of course, data, right? And that's the biggest problem: access to data.
Okay. There's one particular issue I saw recently about a data analyst, and I think it's a very big challenge. Do you understand me? If you're applying for a job as a data analyst, what do you need to show?
Okay, so thank you so much. You need evidence, right? It's evidence.
What form of evidence?
Your portfolio.
Or you tell them that I can use Excel, I can use SQL.
Okay, so the thing is that they have different companies have different interview processes. But traditionally, organizations have like 3 to 4 interviews. The first part could be getting to know you more about your background. And then the second part is the technical part. So you have to prove yourself to them. Talk is cheap. You cannot just say, I've done this, done that.
You cannot say, I've done Excel. I can use Excel. I can use Power BI.
So you do the technical interview and then show them. They give you questions. You do that. Like, for example, now, I had an interview and we had to use SQL. And I fumbled that interview.
Wow.
Like, it was horrible. It was so bad that I had to fake my internet. I had to fake my internet was bad for me to get out of that interview because it was really tough. Okay. So you can say all these things with your mouth and then doing a technical interview, and you cannot prove them in a technical interview. And it was so bad that back in normally the person will be like, okay, thank you for your time, and we'll talk to you later. This one, she was like, okay, now, later. So you know how bad it was. So the problem is they could have stages like they get to know you stage, the technical stage, and then they start looking at culture fit. Are you culture fit for a company? Because different companies have different working culture. For example, companies that are fully remote might have a different way they work. For example, now where I work now, we have more meetings early mornings, 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Right? We don't have, so during the day I have time to do all that stuff. So for example, like you're not someone that could wake up so early. You might struggle to balance all those things, and if you're not good at communication too. For remote companies, communication is like one of the biggest, and I mean for a cybersecurity professional, you need to know how to communicate. Because how would you tell someone there's a breach and attack and you don't know how to communicate? The company is already losing millions of dollars or millions of naira, and you cannot tell them what's the basic problem of that. So that's the being culture fit, and then the next part is maybe they can talk about anything, but the 3 most important parts of which I've experienced is the first part, you get to know you, the technical part, and then being culture fit.
What's a typical day like as a data analyst?
My typical day basically, of course, to look at data, right? Data from the previous, because we usually have like data, like one-time data. Data is always actively like in sync. So basically, I look at the data, get to know what happened the previous day. Then we have dashboards, which my stakeholders or my managers basically look at, because sometimes she might not have the time to have a chat with, like, it's a remote company, right? So you don't have time to say, okay, let's have a chat. They cannot look at that to know, okay, what's going on. If they notice any different thing, they can now send reports. So I maintain those dashboards with visuals, bar chart, pie chart, numbers, and we use tools like, basically we use Tableau. That's very popular tool. We use Tableau. Because Tableau is very popular abroad as compared to Africa. So we use Tableau, and so that's pretty much. So I analyze after I examine that data, analyze, and then I prepare for, like, usually have presentations every end of the week to talk about like our data, start to investigate, like, do we have are there any missing values? Is anything very weird about data? We tend to track all those stuff. So that's just basically. So my main goal is just to, first of all, examine data and then see how I can visualize that data, see how I can then report, because the most important thing is communication, because you have to know how to report this data for them to, like, basically understand what you're trying to do, right?
Once people hear about data, they don't actually understand. Can you just give us a quick definition? What is data?
Yeah, data is basically, like you see, teachers in computer science back then, raw facts and figures, right? So it could be in different forms. We have time data.
Okay.
We have historical data. It could be records of the past, like, for example, now details of the past governors have ruled. So there's different kind. They have weather data, they have sport data, they have financial data. So they have different types of data, but you just know they are raw facts and figures, right? They're things you can see. But the thing is that they have two parts of data, qualitative and quantitative. Quantitative is the ones that you can see, like money, currencies. Then qualitative are things like behavior, color, stuff like that. Okay. Things that, of course, you cannot quantify.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's just
what do you need to succeed as a data analyst?
You need the grace of God, first of all. A lot of that, and then need a lot of grit, because to be honest, tech is really hard for a start. It's very, very hard. I mean, it takes years of practice. I mean, it's possible, like we said, it's possible for someone to get a role in 6 months, but the work rate of that person is 6 months. You cannot compare it to someone that gets a job in 1 year, because that person that goes a job in 6 months, I mean, did a lot of work, right? Spend hours, 6 hours. Some people work as 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours every day. So that person is most likely going to get a result. It's like there's this popular book by Cal Newport, So Good They Can't Ignore You. This book basically talks about they notice the difference with chess players. So they notice that people that play chess or practice their chess skills 5 to 10 hours every day were better than people that spend 1 to 3 hours on their chess skills every day. So it's just like that. So the more hours you put in, the more time you put in, you see the results. So first of all, of course, the grace of God, then grit, and then putting yourself out there, because I've realized that you need people to speak for you, right? You need to put yourself out there, because if you don't tell someone you're data analyst, you might hardly ever get opportunity. If you're maybe in a closed space, but you're learning data science, it's harder for you to get opportunity, because now companies do not. Hiring is getting harder every day, because you can hire someone now and can collapse your business. For example, I hired a cybersecurity expert, in quotes, and you don't know the person's background. The person can just crash. It can be a security breach.
This person could even be a mole.
Exactly.
Okay, now, I want to know something. Now, how has AI affected your career?
Yeah, so I mean, it has made
final notes. Just tell me.
It has made things easy, to be honest, because I mean, AI has come to automate stuff. So, like you said, these tools we use, like Tableau, Power BI, they are now having things like, for example, the most popular one is Power BI, right? Because I use Power BI sometimes. So, and we have this Microsoft Copilot where it can help you predict dashboards. Now you don't even need to think of, how will I draft this dashboard? How will I put this in? It could help you, like, predict possible dashboards you can put, or visuals you can put on your dashboard. So it has really made things like super easy for me, to be honest. And I would like to use this opportunity to thank the founders of OpenAI. Thank you so much for making it possible for us.
All right, thank you very much. Before we go, now, how has AI affected your profession?
Threat hunting.
2 minutes.
Threat hunting has affected vulnerability assessment, risk management. It's been so easy nowadays. Unfortunately, while it has also assisted me, it has also assisted the threat. So time, the time to be able to actually assess risk, identify vulnerabilities has become very, in fact, kind of. The AI has really done the heavy lifting, while we basically focused on more important things. Apart from that, you have that, like the Splunk, which is the most popular SIEM tool that we have nowadays. Before, you have to type out a very long query on Splunk. Nowadays, you can literally, with integration of a language model, you can literally use natural language to query Splunk. and get security information.
I feel this conversation is not over. I feel we should actually come again. But on that note, we come to the end of today's episode. We are going to continue this conversation again, maybe next week. But before we go, please help subscribe, like, share, and also put on the notification bell, because every week we ensure that we drop amazing content like this. As we want to go, do not forget that the illiterate of the 21st century are not those who did not go to school or those who will not go to school, but they are those who have refused to evolve as their environment is evolving. My name is Providence Essien. See you again.